Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to The Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Social Circus. This week I have another wonderful guest as we go through our series of female entrepreneurs who have started a business over 50. So I am excited to be joined by Veronique, who runs a business called Unique Tenants Consult. Now that is an unusual name because she has an unusual business. So what Veronique does is she empowers distressed residential tenants to exercise their rights, to interact confidently with landlords and property managers, to reclaim their respect and dignity lacking in their conflicting relationship. She does this through understanding, empathy, emotional support, industry-specific knowledge, and tailored negotiation strategies. She offers consultations over the phone, email, and via Zoom to help her clients get the best from their rental property. So, welcome, Veronique. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Look, there's so much that we can talk about today, but I am excited to obviously share your journey as an entrepreneur, and particularly someone who started their business over 50. But I do have to say, because I've worked with you, you've been my client for quite some time now, and I love your business. I think most of us have been a tenant in our life, haven't we? And I did do that introduction, but in your words, tell me, what do you do in terms of how do you help people?
Okay. Well, initially, when a tenant contacts me, it's because they've been experiencing rental grievances or conflicts of some kind with their property managers and licensees. So I usually identify. I have a discovery call initially, and I ask a lot of questions because I want to identify whether there has been an alleged breach to start with. And whether I can help the client. I need to establish whether there's a good fit for the client.
Wonderful.
And very often clients are not aware or have been misled about their rights and responsibilities. So I educate and inform them of their rental rights and responsibilities, and make a few suggestions as to how I can help them to negotiate with the other party in order to achieve a mutually satisfactory outcome.
So I have to say, listening to that introduction that you just did of your business, you're quite, I mean, it's called Unique Tenants Consult, but there is not really anybody out there in the marketplace that's advocating on the side of the tenants and will work with tenants. So it's a very unusual proposition. And I guess tell us why you started that particular business. Like what inspired you?
All right. I've been a tenant myself for the last 12 years. And needless to say, I've had numerous unpleasant incidents with property managers where the legal provisions had been blatantly breached, and where I've had to ring up the Department of Consumer Protection so many times. I've had to seek advice from Tenancy WA, and the unwillingness of property managers to cooperate and even to acknowledge that they haven't complied with the legislation really irritated me. And I did think in my view, there is a power imbalance with regard to landlords and tenants' rights. But the third party, the property manager, who is expected to act on behalf of the owner, doesn't have a thorough understanding, doesn't have the knowledge base required to perform that role efficiently. So I've always had a very strong sense of fairness, justice, and equity. And I did think, well, if it's happening to me, it must be happening to all the thousands of tenants. So I made it my mission to do, and that was even before I started having the seed of starting the business. I made it my mission to do some market research to find out how many tenants were unhappy out there. And my goodness, the horror stories kept coming my way. So it really strengthened my resolve to do something about it. And I think, well, it's I had this burning desire to better the lives of tenants, because the reality is, with the economic climate and what's happening in the world, uh, the housing landscape is changing, and a
Hmm.
lot of us will be renting indefinitely because of
Yes.
the
Oh, so many factors.
affordability. And I think, therefore, property management and tenants had to be taken seriously, because we are key stakeholders in this
Absolutely. Well, you don't have an investment
relationship.
property if there's no one living in it. So,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. And
and
also, what really brought it home to me is that housing is a basic, fundamental human right. It is not a luxury. It's not something that you can avail yourself of if you want to. We all need
no,
to have a home. We all need to have a home, food, and shelter. And these are the foundation of us going forward. And once these needs have been met, then we can only aspire to have other uh, layered needs met as
yes,
well. So I think there's something very wrong with with not only with our legislation, but the way it's being conducted, the housing and the rental market is over here compared to
absolutely.
other countries, really.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I've rented a property here in Perth, I've rented in Sydney, and I've rented in London. And I've never had such difficult experiences as I did in Perth. And I've always been what I would consider to be an exemplary tenant. And when I lived in Sydney and when I lived in London, I never had any issues with either the landlord or the property manager. And here in Perth, we had non-stop battles with the rental company, and the owner was not of the same mind. So often they're acting out of their own decisions and not out of what's the best interest of the owner. So it's not an experience I'd look forward to ever going back to, if I'm honest, because and I have to be honest, Veronique, I'm surprised you did any market research, because if you speak to anyone, I don't know if anyone is happy in their rental property. So I feel like there's
I've got enough statistics to support that now.
so, which I just think you give me goosebumps when you say that you're inspired by equity and fairness, because they're some of my really key values as well. And it's exciting to be a champion for people who often feel like they don't have a voice and don't have any power. And like you say, it's a really important business that you have. But today we are going to talk about starting a business when you're over 50, which I know that you fall into that category. So thank you for honestly sharing that, because I do believe that there are lots of different reasons why we start a business later in life. And if you're happy to share, can you tell us what inspired you to start your business at the point that you did? And I guess you've shared a little bit of that already.
Yes. Look, what I'll say to answer your question now will be probably more from the economic viewpoint. My professional background has been in accounting and human resource management. And after 5 years of being unemployed and seeking to secure employment in either one of these fields, or even I've been applying for hundreds of even clerical and administration roles in other industries, it was all to no avail. And it really depleted me on all levels, emotionally, mentally, financially. And I did begin to self-doubt. I did,
Oh,
my gosh, I've sacrificed myself for so many years sitting on university benches and doing so many assignments and sitting for exams. And this is where I'm not. I mean, surely there has to be something better than this. And so it took me a while to convince myself that it wasn't me, it was the economic environment we were in. But I really wanted to use my knowledge and all the skills that I had acquired to leverage that. So at the same time, I was experiencing my rental issues. So
right.
it just happened. The timing was just perfect, and I thought, well, if and I must say, in addition to the economic climate, I have to agree that ageism did play a big part in my
Oh,
search for employment. I noticed it all the time, all the time.
Oh, and I think that's something that we face, many of us women, and we don't even have to be even very old to face it. The world is a very youth-focused market, and I know that when I was last looking for employment, which is over 10 years ago before I had my company, even that I found I was bumping up against people a lot younger than myself, and it didn't seem like a flattering comparison. And I'm so sorry that that was your experience, because I feel like as an economy, we have all these wonderful skills that are not getting utilised. And to hear that you were out of work for 5 years when you've got a accounting, bookkeeping, HR background is ridiculous. It doesn't even seem believable, but you've lived it through it. And I have to be honest, starting a business takes so much drive and tenacity, and I cannot even imagine where you were feeling inside yourself, having been out of work for such a long time. So you must have some real self-determination.
I do. Look, life hasn't been easy, but I was determined to snap out of that frame of mindset that I was not worthy of being employed, and I had to convince myself that it wasn't my fault, that it was the employers who didn't appreciate the potential asset I would be.
Yes, and I can't imagine. I know having ridiculously, because I'd lived out of Perth for a very long time, I really struggled to be employed in the Perth market, having worked overseas and in Sydney for many years, and I found that absurd. And so I understand it, but I'm trying to wrap my head around, and I have worked with you, and I know this to be true of you. You have such strong belief in what it is that you do, but to pick yourself up after 5 years of unemployment and say, I'm going to start a business it's like a Herculean effort. It's really, really big. And so I guess you were driven by that passion to help people and to make a difference, which is wonderful. But you obviously did some research, and did you, what were your sort of first few steps in your business? Like, what did you kind of start out trying and doing and that sort of thing?
Well, I realized that after 5 years being out of the workforce that I needed some reskilling. I needed to be in touch with the workforce again. And I thought, look, I am an advocate for lifelong learning. I have been known to be at university and to be learning for far too long, according to my friends.
That's not even a thing.
So I wanted to obtain the right knowledge. So I did a business course. I love learning. So it was easy for me to make the decision to do the business course. And I also decided if I'm going to educate and advise and impart the right knowledge to the tenants, I need to know exactly what the property management course entails. So I did the property management course through REWA as well.
Wow.
And I must say, I had the wonderful and unwavering support of my partner.
Oh.
He's been my pillar of strength, really. I couldn't have done it. I mean, every day I thank him. I couldn't have done it without him.
Oh, you're making me all emotional, because I know how that feels, and I like you. I'm really lucky to have a wonderful partner who supports me, and I don't know if I would still be here doing what I do without him, because the days when you have down days, if you don't have someone to help pick you up, it's really tough. And from your perspective, can I ask, when you were studying, did you find that you were often the oldest in the class? Because having just finished my master's last year, I was always the oldest. and by like many years, like some of them look like they could be my children, because a lot of students now during the working environment would go straight from their undergrad to postgrad. So I had kids doing their postgrad while in the same class as I was doing my master's, and so they were literally 21 and I'm like way older than them. So how did that feel? How did you find that kind of journey?
Actually, the business course wasn't too bad, because it was out of the university sector, and the majority of us were in my age group.
Oh, so fantastic!
That was comforting. That was very comforting, reassuring. However, I must say that personally, I mean, there were a few younger participants as well. the issue that I had a great difficulty wrapping my head around was the social media aspect of it. The names of all the different platforms coming up, and they knew exactly the younger generation knew exactly what they were talking about, and quite a few of us were asking, "What is it, and what does that do, and why would I need it?" So the social media was a big learning curve, a huge learning curve for me. But apart from that, and our trainer was excellent. There was a good ambiance, atmosphere, and a good culture. We were there to learn, and we helped each other. So yeah, the age difference wasn't a big issue in that business course. And with regard to the property management course, I did it online. Because had the option to do it online because I think I'm running a business and time is of the essence. I didn't want to waste time getting ready, driving, packing, and commuting back home. So doing it online at my own pace was more suitable for me.
Wonderful. And I know online learning definitely has a role to play. And I don't know if you felt this, but I just certainly had a moment when I was doing my master's because I was so much older than everyone of like, why am I doing this? Am I simply too old to be? It's quite an interesting feeling though. The self-doubt that you put in yourself kind of going, should I be doing this? And it's quite interesting when you think you're I'm in a very well-established business. I'm very comfortable with my expertise. And yet I still had these quite big moments of self-doubt and kind of like, do I have a right to be in the room? And it's quite funny to face those fears. And I'm actually really lucky. My mum, took an education when she was older and she was doing her master's while I was doing my undergraduate. So she was quite a lot older than me now. And I was always really inspired by her because she was a single mum and she'd raised my brother and I and pursued a career and been re-educated.
Fabulous.
And she kind of just said...
role modelling.
Yes, but the whole education was so important and she was really a believer in that, and that's what made me pursue my master's, and be the oldest in the class, and now I've got it and I think, I'm so proud of that I did it. But I definitely had, thank you, I definitely had, I had so many moments of believing that I shouldn't be in the room, and I think that I wonder how often we're sitting in the room when we feel like we shouldn't be there, and I think especially as women, and especially women as we get older, we really become, and this is something I speak to a lot about with many of my clients, is the sense that as women, the society values youth so much, but they value young women so much. And so we often perceive that I'm not an interesting sexual being anymore. I'm just an old, frumpy, middle-aged woman. And there's so much tied up in that. And for you to have experienced that ageism, it's really an awful feeling. But now you're running your own business. The irony of it is that age brings experience, and so people think
absolutely, and that's what I think the attitude and the mindset of employers in general has to change, because by not appreciating the older or more mature workforce, they are missing out on experience and wisdom. They're missing out on so much.
And I so agree with you, but the experience and wisdom comes in so many different guises. And even if we haven't been employed, like a lot of my listeners are maybe had breaks, like career breaks, to be stay-at-home mums. And whilst we're doing that, like I look now at the skills that I have and how organised I am as a parent compared to what I was like when I was in a workplace, not as a parent. You bring some amazing skills. My negotiation skills, I could talk anyone off a roof any day of the week. I can negotiate with two teenage boys.
Being a parent is the role that doesn't come with a handbook, does it?
No. So the skills that you acquire if you're on a career break or things like that are so valuable to a workplace, and I don't know if those are ever valued at all. You can put them on your resume, and I'm sure employers read through it and you just think, no, genuinely, I have great negotiation skills.
Yes, you do wonder. One thing I'd like to say, we've both talked about self-doubt. We've all experienced self-doubt at some stage. So that's really the imposter syndrome, isn't it? And you mentioned, why am I doing this, and should
yes
is it worth my while doing it? And look, we all experience it. I experience it every day, but then you have to be strong enough, and you have to really believe in yourself, that you have to stay true to your goals, and keep your eyes focused on your goal, and tell yourself that is the reason why I'm doing it, and I'm not. and I won't let anyone or anybody interfere between me and my goal. Okay,
Yeah.
you're in my way, get out of my way, because this is where I want to go.
Oh, and I have to say, having worked with you for quite some time now, Veronique, that's always the person that I see when I work with you is this.
Thank you.
I see this woman on a mission to help people and empower people and to help people actually enjoy the rights that they're legally entitled to, which sounds absurd that we have to enforce that in our society. But I always see a very confident woman when I work with you. And so it's interesting that I think a lot of people probably see a confident woman, they see me as well, that we're all plagued with self-doubt, aren't we?
Yes, we all do. We all do. And it's a matter of, I think, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So coming out of our comfort zone every day, you learn something new, you do something new, you meet someone new. So we're out of our comfort zone, and I train myself to actually use these moments or incidents to make me a better person. How can I use what I've learned today, and how can I share that with my tenants and my community to enrich the life of other people as well, to make their lives better, because this is what I want. And what really drove me to if I can digress a little,
please do. Yes.
That really drove me to start my business is I'm sure you're aware that the United Nations have 17 goals in their sustainable development
charter.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I went through all of them because I really want to leave some kind of legacy, at least in the professional domain. I know what is the legacy I want to leave within my family and my son. But I thought professionally, I haven't studied for so many years for nothing. I'd like to leave some legacy.
Absolutely.
So I went through the goals, and I picked goal number 16 to be my guiding light, or my guiding
raison d'etre.
So if I can quote goal number 16.
Please do, yes.
So quote, to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels, unquote. So this is what I want to do. This is my contribution. This is my contribution to the rental market.
Wow.
It is well known that there is an imbalance of power. The legislation is not working in favor of tenants, and that has been shown by the interstate legislations having been reformed and setting minimum standards of accommodation. So my small contribution is to be a trailblazer to better and enrich the lives of tenants, and this is what guides me.
Oh my goodness, Veronique, that's so beautiful. I don't know if I can add anything to that.
Thank you.
I will just say to my listeners, I'm not driven by the same North Star that Veronique is, but I definitely have a vision in my mind of why I run my business. And I would recommend, if you're starting a business, to be really clear on what your why is, because it's what gets us up every morning. And I know what my why is really clearly, but yours is so, my goodness, I've got goosebumps. I can hardly talk. It's so beautiful. Now, look, I know you and I can talk all day, so I will be mindful of our time. And I'm so grateful to have had you on the show. I'm so grateful for your generous and honest sharing of your experience, because I think it's really helpful for us to see other women that have had journeys not dissimilar to our own, that have had challenges, that we all face those. So thank you so much for sharing. To all of my listeners, please read the show notes to see how you can connect with Veronique and Unique Tenants Consult. So her business is based in Western Australia, and because of legislation she can only support businesses here, or tenants here, but please do check her out and recommend her, because I'm certain we all have someone in our life that could do with her help. So Veronique, thank you again for your time. It's been delightful having you on the show.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a pleasure being here and chatting with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So thank you all again for listening to another episode of The Social Circus. I look forward to chatting with you the same time next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favourite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.